Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Ann Alvarez, parent coach, school counselor, and mom of two. Do you struggle with your relationship with your kids because you carry childhood pain? Do you get triggered by your child's behavior, become irrational, and maybe even yell at your children? Maybe you want to be a better parent, but you don't know how. Instead of repeating old patterns, you want to heal your pain, become more aware of your child's needs, feel connected to your kids, and learn the tools to communicate better so you can truly enjoy your parenting. If you are ready to heal your childhood pain, raise healthy, connected, and happy kids, and end the cycle of parenting with pain, then join me. Our kids deserve it, and we can do this. Let's go. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm super excited because we have a returning guest. Her name is Martha Burich. And today we are going to get into the topic of addiction. Welcome, Martha.
Thanks, Angie. Glad to be here again.
All right. Do you want to just tell parents like a recap on what you do? And then we'll go into the questions.
All right, sounds like a plan. I am a parenting expert. I wrote a book, Yes, You Can Raise Happy, Responsible Children, that was endorsed by Jack Canfield. It's available at Amazon. The link will be on the show notes. And also, I'm an expert in addiction because way back in college, I was learning behavior modification, how to stop bad habits, how to increase good habits, how to change behaviors. Then I taught child psychology for 10 years. Then I taught high school special education for 16 years. And if you want to practice grounds and changing behavior, there you go. High school's the place to do it. So I had the opportunity to change a lot of behaviors then. And now I go to the jail every Monday. I've been doing this for about 3 years and talk to the addicts and alcoholics. And I also go every Wednesday to the local treatment center and talk to the addicts and the alcoholics. I speak with the women, and most of them, of course, are parents. And we talk about addiction and how we can stop this and what we need to do. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And it's one of my absolutely favorite topics in the world next to parenting, simply because of what I went through as a parent and how I had to turn my own son around. Well, when he was younger, he was so spoiled, but I learned how to change his behavior. But then, as we get older, changing behavior becomes a little bit more difficult, especially, Angie, as you know, with addiction, because we are dependent on that addiction for whatever it brings to us, and we're afraid to let it go.
Right, right. Because we can fall back into patterns, right?
Mm.
Okay, so let's get into it. Uh, how do you help women who are struggling with addiction?
All righty. So there are a lot of different ways. First off, uh, you really have to be ready. Okay. You need to say, I want to stop this.
Mhm.
And it has to be more than that. See, what happens is so often, so often, Angie, what happens is we'll say, I want to stop this. I really do. But we're so afraid and we don't know anything else. So we don't have any other behaviors to replace this because, back when I did drink, and, basically I was a weekend drinker because I had jobs I loved and I wasn't going to let it interfere. But boy, I couldn't race home Friday night fast enough to get to that bottle. But when I retired, then the next thing you know, well, I had no reason to get up in the morning, right? Or no reason to not drink. Next thing you know, I'm drinking every day. So, but I stopped that more than 6 years ago. I was very fortunate. I made that the first decision. Um, I got to change this. This has got to change. And the second decision, when you're confronted with your addiction, you got to say no again. So that means you're at the grocery store, you don't go down the booze aisle. That means you see your drug dealer on the street, you don't go talk to him.
Mhm. Mhm.
These are the second decisions, which are so important. But anyway, so how do I help? Well, first off, I can't help you unless you're ready and you're willing.
Right.
And but I listen. Basically, I listen. But
Yeah.
we'll get into some more things when it comes to, because what are we addicted to? donuts. I have my own problems with donuts, sugar.
Yes.
We all have our, I don't smoke. Luckily, I stopped smoking decades ago, but cigarettes, vaping, what else? Some people are addicted to exercise,
Mhm.
over exercise. Some people are addicted to other people. So gambling, there's a million things.
There is a million things, and I think all of us have weaknesses.
Oh, of
And
course.
you shared that you had addiction. I've I have issues too as well, and I have it in my family as well, like some addiction issues, right? And so where is this coming from? Like, why do people fall into the trap of addiction?
It's the easy way out. It's called instant gratification.
Mhm.
You hear story after story of people who their first drink, it's like, whoa, suddenly I didn't feel self-conscious anymore. Oh my goodness, I took that drink and wasn't depressed. I was smiling and laughing and telling jokes and I was a whole different person. Well,
Yes.
yeah. Or the drug, whatever drug they took, so boom, you get that instant gratification. That is mighty hard to stop. And then when you keep doing it again and again, what happens is then of course but it takes a while. It takes a
Yes.
while. Then it turns on you. Okay, that one thing that was saving you suddenly isn't saving anymore, and it's making things worse. But you still are hanging on. It's like, oh my God, it used to work for me. I can make it work again. I can make it work again. And we're so afraid to let it go because we don't have any of the skills needed. We don't have the social skills. We don't have the ability to say no to ourselves. We never learned because we're
Mhm.
too busy instant gratification. Thinking that I deserve this. I deserve this. My life is hard, blah, blah, blah. And
Yes.
uh, I don't give a lot of sympathy because we don't have time anymore. When I'm sitting around with women in jail and in a treatment center, most of them been
Yes.
there before, lots of times. I
Yes.
tell them, look, there's plenty of people around here who are going to give you sympathy and empathy. I'm not one. You got to
Right.
grow up. We got to grow up today. And all you got to do is one day at a time. It's all you got to worry about is today. And you're
Okay.
going to learn those skills. You're going to learn those skills.
Okay. 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 So how do you start them off? So you say, okay, you listen to their story,
Mhm.
and then you say, okay, yeah, but you got to grow up.
Yeah.
Um, and you want to, right? Like you said they have to be ready and want to. And then you say we're going to take it one day at a time,
Mhm.
right? Okay. I think that's
I've
really
been,
important.
yeah.
Even in parenting, I think it's important that you take one day at a time. Because if you're, a lot of times we get worried in our thoughts, like,
Mhm.
oh, they're going to be tantruming forever, or they're going to be throwing things forever. They're not. They're not. We deal with it moment by moment, right? And they continue to grow. Okay. So,
Angie, how many Facebook posts do you see of parents of 2-year-olds? I'm so afraid he's not going to be socially, he doesn't seem to socialize really well. Please, he's two. Will you give him an opportunity? How can I help him to be more social? Why don't you let him grow up a little bit?
it's normal. Like when you're little, you cling on to your parents for protection because
Oh
you're
my
small.
goodness. Parents worry about everything.
Gosh, it's so crazy, right? To be thinking that that is the way they will be forever. They will not.
They will
They
not.
are continuously growing. Even when they're adults, they're still
Right.
growing, right?
That's right.
Okay,
That's
yeah, you and I both know that. We both have adult children. So we know that they're continuously growing because this is their journey, right? Okay, wh- okay, after you do the one day at a time, then how do you walk them through changing? Maybe is it a head thing, or how do you get them to change their habits?
each person's different and each person comes from a different background. And you know, some of these stories are so sad. The a lot of addicts really have no reason to be an addict. It was all their own stupid thoughts that they got in their head that they believed. Things like, well, my parents loved my brother or my sister better. And that fueled them for a long time. Like, oh, well, I can't succeed, or I have a reason to drink, or if you had my wife, if you had my whatever, my husband, blah, blah, blah. Always with the excuse, well, if you worked where I worked, if you had to deal with the people I deal with, you drink too, blah, 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 blah. Always with an
Right.
excuse. And and this whole somebody just told me last night that she relapsed. She went back to drinking because she got a case of the efforts. Something didn't go her way. And she's like, oh, life sucks. Nothing ever goes my way. I'm going to go have a drink. And,
Yeah.
knowing that one drink is never enough. If you're an alcoholic, one drink, how do you know you're an alcoholic? You can't have one. Okay, maybe once every so often, but the odds on you being able to have one drink and not have another are almost zero. One
Right.
is not, one's too many, 100's not enough. And if you see someone who doesn't finish their drink, you're like, what? Why don't you know that there are people in China who don't have alcohol?
Yeah.
How parents always tell her, well, don't you, there's people starving in China, eat all your food. You're not going to finish that drink. What, is there
Yes.
something wrong with you? Well, that's how
Yeah.
you know you're an alcoholic, because otherwise you're like, oh yeah, let's go. Nope,
Right.
not alcoholic, not an alcoholic. But yeah, so you have to have, this is really, it's a really strange thing, because you have to walk this line between empathy and uh quit playing around.
Right.
Okay, look, I understand that. I had 3 women last week at the treatment center. They had all lost children. One had lost her 2 sons to addiction and alcoholism. And of
Mhm.
course, she was very raw and still crying. And
It-
another woman had lost a baby. I mean, there's a lot of loss in
yeah.
this field. But we lost my brother, and not to help to drug addiction or anything. But so my mother lost a child. A lot of people lose children, and I always tell these parents, okay, you're going to get a lot of sympathy and empathy here, and what you need and you deserve,
Mhm.
and you have other children,
Mhm.
and you have other people who need you. You cannot
Yes.
withdraw from life, because that's
Right.
what you're doing, and you're going to have to make your peace with God, with why it happened, and
Mhm.
come to some kind of an arrangement, because there are people out here who you have never met who need you.
Right.
You might not meet them for years, but you need to be an example.
Yes. Yes. Couple of things came to my mind as you were talking. First, that what keeps us in the trap is victimhood. So when
Oh,
we see
yeah.
ourselves as victims, then we fall back into the trap of the addiction.
Mhm.
And also, like, we have to know our triggers.
Mm.
So this is happening to me. I'm feeling unloved, uncared for. So I'm going to drink, or I'm going to gamble, or I'm going to overeat, right? Whatever the addiction is. Um, so when you know your triggers, okay, I'm being triggered.
Mhm.
I want to have that drink, and then I'm going to do something else, right? Or
Yeah.
I'm going to change the thinking. Hold on, you're not a victim, right? You have come so far. Why are you going there again,
Mhm.
right? So
And
I think
and a
there's a
lot of
head thing
people,
here.
go ahead.
Yeah. There's a processing in your thinking that has to change, right?
Mm, that's right. And a
Would
lot of
you?
people have this idea in their mind. They have this thing in the back of their mind. Well, if this happens, I'll go back to drinking. If this happens, I won't be able to handle it. Like if my mother dies, or if this happens, or my child, or whatever. And see, that's they have that. It's like an out, and
Right,
they're just waiting for this to happen. And
right.
instead of saying, you know what, I'm just going to live one day at a time. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, because none of us do.
None
None
of
of us
us.
do.
No.
An airplane could come in and hit the house right this minute. Nobody knows. So all I can do is what I can do today.
Yes.
Now, whatever you did yesterday, because a lot of people have a lot of guilt for what they did, and that's
Yes.
definitely understandable, because we do a lot of crazy things under the influence of drugs and alcohol, crazy things
Hmm.
that we would never do. And unfortunately, some people kill people, whether it's
Yeah.
drinking and driving. I know of a woman who killed an entire family.
Yeah.
drinking and driving, and all her neighbors said she was the sweetest woman in the world, would give you the shirt off her back. She was going 90 miles an hour, hit a car with mom, dad, and two children, killed the
Wow.
family. Now, how do you come
Wow.
back with that? And I knew a man who killed a husband and wife, and he knew them. He knew them, and he was only 27 years old, a decorated, I think, it was an army vet,
Yeah.
nice young man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and in fact, and he had the presence of mind when the accident happened. He looked in their car and he knew them. And no, he went to jail. I think he's still in jail for that. But yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. But okay, so you have this in your history, right? You have this in your history,
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
absolutely terrible you can't forgive yourself for. Well,
Mhm.
then you're going to have to find a way to make up for it. So how do you make up for it? Usually, a lot of people say what you do is you make a living amends. What's a living amends? You just stay sober or drug free today and try to be
Yeah.
the best person you can today.
Right. Right. Because, we can't keep beating ourselves up
No,
over the past, right? And
right,
and nobody is perfect. And sure, you made some really bad decisions, but your life still has purpose,
that's
right?
right.
Like you can actually turn your pain into purpose, right? We've had at our school where I'm a school counselor, we have had guest speakers from Alcoholics Anonymous, things like that, like ICBC. This is the insurance company for British Columbia. We've had speakers that tell their story of why you as a teenager should not drink and
Mhm,
drive.
mhm,
Because this is what happened. I was driving and I lost my best friend,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Like things like that. So like those are so impactful. And that's when something good can come out of something bad, something
Yeah,
tragic, right?
right.
But you have to make the decision that you cannot keep beating yourself up over the past because the past is the past and you have you can't change it.
Right.
But what can you change? You can change today. You can change the future. You can stop the toxic, uh, harming,
Mhm,
self-harming behavior,
right.
and you can choose to have compassion for yourself and change. Right, Martha? That's what we
Exactly.
need.
You're
We need,
exactly right.
yeah, we need to change. We need to change it, and but we also need to feel the weight of this generational trauma, this generational addiction that we're creating if we do not take charge of it. Like you're
Mhm,
passing it down to your children and your children's children because you didn't get a hold of it. You didn't get in control, right? And that's the weight that I want moms to know, parents to know that we are passing down habits and we're role modeling to our kids. And
right.
so then their coping is going to be addiction, right? So
And
that,
that's why it's so important to be a good example and
yeah,
also to learn how to say no to yourself and to teach your children that
yeah,
to respect no. When they hear no, to have an entire conversation around the word no. Okay, I said no because, and then sometimes there is no because. Look, this time I said no. I don't, here's my reason, but you're not going to understand it. You're too young or whatever. So
yeah,
you're just going to trust me. And sometimes just no is no.
yeah,
And and in order for a person to grow up to be able to say no to themselves, they have to be able to accept no from the other people in their lives.
yes. I'm doing a workshop in January on boundaries,
Uh,
why boundaries are actually healthy, and that you need to have need to have boundaries in a family, right?
right?
People cannot just do whatever they want,
Exactly.
right? We have to have boundaries. That's what keeps the family healthy. Okay.
That's right.
Um, I want to know what do you think women need to know to make their lives better when they are coming out of like trauma, abuse. Like, okay, let's face it, the women that you're dealing with that are in prison, they're coming from backgrounds of dysfunction, maybe trauma, maybe they've been abused, right? So there's wounds there. And the addiction is coping with those wounds that haven't been healed. So what do you want women to know about how how they can make their lives better, right? So that they're not living with the wounds of the past.
Well, you got to stop with the excuses. Let's be real here. Whatever happened to you has happened to plenty of people. Plenty of people. Let's go back into history. And Viktor Frankl, from the very beginning in his book Man's Search for Meaning, he was a victim in a concentration camp.
Mm.
And he said the only people who escaped had a reason, or who lived to tell the tale, 3 out of 100 had a reason. They had a very big reason. You have got to get a big reason in your life.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and that is that you need to start seeing that you're important and that you have value, no matter what happened to you in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what you've done in the past. I had a woman at the jail one time. She said to me, "Why would God forgive me if he hasn't forgiven the devil?" Now, right there, we got an ego problem. Okay.
Yes.
To even
Yes.
compare yourself to the devil. And also any time that you think that, oh, I've done such bad things, blah, blah, blah. I can never be forgiven. That's ego. When you have
Mm-hmm.
social anxiety, that's ego.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. It's on the other's end of thinking too much of yourself, but you're still stuck in what's called the bondage of self. All you think about is yourself and how things affect you rather than how you can help others. We don't search for happiness, and I think that's part of the problem of our addiction. We're looking for happiness. Happiness cannot be found. Happiness comes by doing for others. And I'm not talking about being a doormat. I'm talking about smiling at people in the grocery store. You have no idea the suffering that some people are going through and why I get emotional, because that was me 30 years ago,
Yes.
suffering at the grocery store. If you didn't smile at me, I thought, oh my God, what did I do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And I was always trapped in the bondage of self. And I had to, it was the only way out is through. I had to work and work and work to get through that. But
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, I think sometimes just getting older helps with that too.
Yeah.
So yes, just smiling at people is a big deal. And if someone does something that aggravates you, don't be all snotty about it. If you need to say something about it, say, you know what, yeah, it bothers me when you smoke in the house or whatever. The sign says don't smoke. I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't. That's all you have to say, and then move on. You don't have to have a morally superior attitude or anything like that. If you feel the need that you have to say something,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get trapped in worrying about what other people think of you. You
Mm-hmm.
need to say, what do I think of myself? Does this make me feel better about myself as a human being? Am I being useful? If you are lonely, go be a friend. Go to the
Mm-hmm.
nursing home, find lonely people, go to the dog shelter, walk the dogs.
Yeah.
Find some usefulness in your life.
Right. I love what you said, because I personally believe that in order to heal, um, we need to serve.
Mm,
Actually, serving others
mhm.
helps us to heal,
That's right.
because we sit in the wounds of our past, and it's all about us.
Right.
What happened to me, what people did to me, how people treated me, right? It's
Mhm.
all about us. And so we have to get out of that. It's not about you. Now you can help others,
Right.
right? And then
Right.
the actual serving, actually, this is actually well known that part of getting out of depression, mental health things, when you're helping others, it actually helps you with your mental health. So you have to get out and do some serving. And I'm not saying like anything huge. I'm just saying start thinking about, how do I make people's lives better?
Mhm.
What can I do to help my friend, my neighbor, my friend's kids, right? My child, serving your own children. When you start to serve, you start to heal because
Mhm.
now you feel useful
Mhm.
and valued, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to break identity, the
Mhm.
identity crisis of, I'm a wounded child who was abused. Let's say,
Mhm.
and we're turning it into, I'm a capable adult that can help others,
Right.
right? That's so
Right.
powerful, is when we get out of our heads
Mhm.
about making it about us
Mhm.
and turning it to make it about others. How do I help others? Wouldn't you agree, Martha?
Oh, you're right on. Right on. Exactly. Exactly. Get out of your own head. Get
We
out of
have
yourself.
to. We have to stop personalizing everything, because other people's actions and behaviors, most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, it's not about us.
Exactly.
One time that might be like we were being stupid, or we were like, we did something. But even then, we should still be treated with compassion. Even if we make a mistake, even if your child makes a mistake, you still need to treat them with compassion, because we're all flawed human beings, all of us.
That's right.
There isn't one that's perfect. Not one of us on the planet Earth is perfect.
That's right.
So stop thinking you have to be perfect, because you don't have to be perfect, because nobody else is. Right?
Exactly.
And and
Exactly.
and forgive yourself for the mistakes and start looking outward to help others. Right? I think
Per-
that yeah. I know that's what's helped me in my life, is because I think I shared with you, I had a very dysfunctional home life. I had abuse. My parents were not relational. This is why I teach relational parenting. And it took me a long time to heal. But I chose professions where I was helping. Like, I chose teaching, I chose counseling. In my, I don't know, in my heart of hearts, I just wanted to serve. And
Mhm.
honestly, the serving has helped to heal me, right? So that is what serving can do. Serving can help to heal those wounds, because
Mhm.
now you're giving what you didn't get, right? So
And
you're,
serving
yeah,
can be cooking a meal for someone who needs a meal. We have a homeless shelter here. Families come in and cook meals for them all the time.
yeah,
And so imagine how good you feel that you've helped someone that way.
that's so amazing. Like, it doesn't have to be big, right,
Right.
moms? It doesn't have to be big. But if you can get out of your head and say, today, what can I do for somebody? Smile at
Exactly.
them at the supermarket. Maybe I will bake some cookies and bring it to my neighbor. It doesn't have to be big, but if you get in the act of serving, is going to help on your healing journey,
Mhm.
right? Like, when you start to get triggered, think, oh, what can okay, now I'm triggered, and it's all about me again. I need to do something for someone, so I don't fall into that trap of addiction again,
Right.
right? Yeah. So good, so good, so good. Okay. Martha, I know you have some exciting things coming up. So why don't you tell our parents what you're up to, and so that they know, and then we will put in the show notes where to reach you, how they can contact you.
Right. Well, I do have a course for parents, 4 weeks, once a week on Zoom. So that'll be in the show notes. And I also have a program for addicts, and we'll do the same thing, 4 weeks. Let's get ahead of this. Let's get some strength, some solidness into our own personalities and help us get over our addictions, and whatever they may be, whether it's cigarettes, drugs, alcohol. And it's just, and
Yes.
it's too, it's a 4 week program. Just let's get started. Let's get going on this. So
Yes.
those will be in the
Excellent.
show notes.
Thank you so much, Martha. Okay, parents, so there is help out there. Martha is very experienced with helping women with their addictions. So if you are suffering, you are ready to make the change, she's your lady to help you. Okay, thank you so much, Martha. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm so inspired by the work that you do with women. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
And
Annie.
thank you so much. And parents, we love you. And thank you so much for joining today. And I will see you in the next episode of Masterful Parenting. Take care, everybody. If this podcast inspired, blessed, or changed you in any way, I would love for you to share this with your family and friends on your Instagram page and tag me at Masterful Parenting. And join my Masterful Parenting Facebook page or DM me for more parenting support. And I will meet you here real soon. Remember, be relational with your kids and you will see a change. Love to all you parents out there. Let's change the world one parent at a time.